Well, hello there, Dippers, and welcome back to episode 30 of the Knuckle Sammich podcast. As always, Dippers, I'm your host, Drake, joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Thomas R. Shackelford.
Howdy, fellers.
And coming in live with this 10 seconds of sweat at some point in this episode, our producer, Leighton C.
I have no prep for the 10 seconds of sweat. Go just off cockfight and names.
All right, I'm sure he will be impressed by the face tattoo, as will Mr. Shackelford himself. Guys, we have a good show for you. We are going to break down UFC 230, which just happened last weekend. We'll talk a little bit about the fights. And we have, this weekend, Cowboy Cerrone, one of my nearest and dearest fighters. I love watching him fight. Spoiler alert, I will never pick against him. So, guys, Leighton C, you know what to do. Welcome to the Knuckle Sammich podcast with Thomas R. Shackelford, a sauce on the side production. All right, Mr. Shackelford, one thing that I wanted to talk about before we actually got kicked off on this show, this week, it had become ever so clear to me that our destinies are set in stone.
You're saying it's everybody's destiny is already written?
Yes, your book is written, no matter what you do. I am clearly sticking my flag in the sand there. And if you try to come off path and you try to do something to shake it up, guess what? They knew you were going to do that.
They knew it.
And I have proof. Mr. Shackelford, where were you on the night of your 21st birthday?
I was at home in bed.
Okay. Did you go out?
I did not. When I was, and this is honest to God, from the ages of about earmuffs, from the ages of about 19 to 20 to about 23, 24, I did not go out at all. I didn't drink in any way, shape, or form.
What did you do the night of your 21st birthday?
I pissed the bed.
You did?
It happened.
Was that the last time that you urinated in the sheets?
I mean,
up to this now.
Oh,
now.
no.
Oh, see, wait a second.
No.
Now, this just went from like a funny segment. You need to go see a doctor.
I might. I mean, now
how many times do you do this?
I mean, it's happened. Hold on. I said I didn't have a drop of anything for like a 4-year span, but I mean, since then I've had some beers.
Okay. So was that the last time?
Flu or something? Does that count?
No. Like healthy. You were healthy that night, correct?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
In the prime of my life.
Okay. Have you since then peed to bed in a healthy state of mind and a healthy body, Shackelford? Yes or no?
No, not. I don't believe so.
Okay. So the way that I look at this is your destiny was already set. Whether they knew that you should have been going out that night and they knew that you were already going to pee to bed. They, being, God or whatever figure you look at or, just Mother Nature itself, you had a plan that night already set in stone and you just happened to not go out.
I missed a good night.
Yes, you did.
I should have just went out.
Yes.
I should have just went out.
You missed out on the night of your life, probably.
I did. All it cost me was my pride and dignity and some bed sheets.
Yeah, and having to sleep on rubber sheets for 2 weeks. Wow. Yeah, I've been waiting all week to
I
talk
can't
about
argue.
this.
I guess if there was ever a sign that our destinies are set in stone from the minute of,
conception.
If you're Republican, it's conception. If you're Democrat, it's from birth. I guess that's it.
That takes us to another topic here.
Oh, God.
Voting. You didn't vote this week.
This would be the first election I've never voted in.
You know how I knew?
How?
You didn't post a picture of yourself with a
no,
sticker.
I did not. And I have never voted a picture, in the last 15 years that I've voted.
Me and my millennials, we could ruin anything, Mr. Shackelford.
You can. And what I guess technically I'm a millennial. I guess my age, but I don't consider myself that.
You had a flip phone until you were like
I didn't
34.
even get a flip phone until I was 24.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
It spilled over into my people. My people were posting pictures, and they were trying to make them look artistic.
Yeah.
They're like putting them on their lips. Some girls were putting them on their cleavage. A couple dudes
I didn't
were
see
like,
any of those.
Some sunset ones were like...
You know how you get guys to vote? More of that.
I voted on cleavage.
More of that.
It was disappointing.
Yeah, I was disappointed, and I went and did my services as an American. I went and voted, and I did not post any pictures. But I think 98% of the stuff that I had seen online was not political campaigns, was not political ads. It was people posting pictures with their I voted sticker, and I am willing to say that we would have a decrease of voter turnout below the age of 30 if they got rid of the stickers.
I don't know how they ever get a sticker. I've voted all the time. I've never gotten a sticker.
I get one. Maybe they're like, hey, he looks young. Let's hand him a sticker.
Yeah, that guy over there, nah, he ain't gonna post no picture.
I think they look at us like a toddler, walking on in there. They're like, oh, you want your sticker for voting? No, get out of here. Like, this is serious business.
The last time I went did have donuts.
Oh.
But they weren't giving them out to people. It was
only if you vote Republican. Here's your donut.
I seen a thing they advertised like, hey, if you voted this precinct, we got warm Krispy Kreme donuts. And I'm like, hey, that's my precinct. I'm headed there. Sweet. And I got there. Guess who was eating the donuts?
Who's that?
The people watching the polls.
You're kidding me.
No. They had the donuts back behind where they were sitting.
Did you ask them, can I get a donut?
No.
Why not?
Because they're creepy.
Yeah, they are. I'll say that.
They take that job way too seriously, man.
Yeah.
All you do is pencil something in, you slide it in the box. I don't even know what we need them there for.
Yeah, no, every one of those things on the table, I look at like every table has a leader, and that leader is wearing either a U.S. Army, U.S. Navy, just one of those old school veteran hats, and he's above the age of 75. Hey, am I right?
You're right.
Even my precinct had him. And, every time you walk in and he just he looks at you and shakes his head like, hell yeah, this guy's doing his job.
There was a thing local to us, Saline County. One of the guys on the ballot were trying to fight people out in the parking lot or something.
That's awesome, dude. What's more Southern Illinois than putting your name on a ballot and trying to whip some ass?
Hey, the best thing I heard all election, Las Vegas. Did you hear about that guy?
No.
The guy that owns a couple bunny ranches.
Oh, wow.
He died. He was on the ballot. He died a month ago.
Yeah.
He won.
Legends never die, Shackelford.
No. He right now is an elected official in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Post-mortem.
The dude's been dead. Yeah, post-mortem. That's why I didn't vote this year, guys. God bless America.
Dude. I mean, legends never die, man. Like,
how can we do this?
Can we get tattoos of him?
You're telling me that the government couldn't print new ballots within a month?
Absolutely
it would take
not.
them more than a month to send out ballots to precincts?
Yeah. That's the way it's.
That's what they get. I hope they leave them on.
Time out. So this guy was actually running for an office, though?
He was running for office. He's a famous dude.
Was it?
I can't think of his name.
No, I know who you're talking about because he had just recently died.
Yeah.
And he owned Moonlight Bunny Ranch.
Yeah.
Wait, Dennis?
What?
The Dennis guy?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
He died?
Yeah.
What?
He's an elected official. You refer to him as sir.
I meant to watch that whole series again just in honor of Dennis. For no other reason.
Yeah. That's unbelievable, dude. What do you think about him being an elected official? As soon as Leighton C, he was completely out of it until he heard the word Moonlight Bunny Ranch. Ears perked up, had to jump in. What do you think about that, dude?
It's amazing to me that he won and Ted Cruz also won. That just shows the amount of divide between the states of Nevada and Texas right there.
Wow.
Texas was closer this year. Beto almost got it, but still very far divide.
It's because he's a beta.
Dennis Hoff was his name.
Wow.
Also known as America's Pimp Master General.
I salute you, Dennis.
Oh, for a seat on the Nevada Assembly. So he actually has a seat on the Nevada Assembly, and he's been dead for 3 weeks.
Dude, I have a serious question. Does employees get to fill in for him on days?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Like send the girls in. Send the girls. They get to go.
It's a shame he didn't win. It's a shame he didn't live to see this day.
I know. You know, the best part, like, whenever they have, like, all those elected officials, like, sitting in, like, the hierarchy, and they're all, like, rowed up, like, 10 rows up, and they're looking at something, you know, trying to act super official, and that dude just sitting there with one on each knee. just happy to be
He's
there.
got 2 platinum blondes sitting next to him. He says, "Hey, guys, how's it feel?"
I love it. All right, so we already broke down one fight, I guess. It was an elected official in Saline County. Good luck to that guy.
Yeah, that dude. I think he lost, actually.
did? He lost the fight?
I think he lost the fight.
What about his election?
I'm sure he lost that, too.
That'd be awesome.
He's 0-2 in the last 2 days.
Actually, fun fact for everybody, in case you don't buy into that just being like the most Southern Illinois thing ever, there has actually been a guy who was on another ballot. He was the last guy I watched Leighton C get punched in the face by. So
That's a story for another day.
that's a story for another day, but guys, that is, hey, welcome to So Ill. I mean,
where your politicians are liable to fist fight you out on a Saturday night and raise your taxes on Monday morning.
I want that as a bumper sticker. I want that as a bumper sticker. All right. So UFC 230. We'll start at the top. How many fights do you want to go down? We'll go all the way down to at least Adesanya.
Yeah.
If we leave any of them out,
Yeah.
you can kind of correct me on that. So start right at the main event. DC, Derek Lewis. I mean, as I watched that fight, I thought, man, I can't believe I tricked myself.
Well, you know, DC did what he had to do. You know, he looked horrible. He looked thick. He looked thicker
How many
than a
C's
Snicker.
thick?
How many what?
How many C's thick? You're saying he's thick.
5. Give me
Yeah,
five.
wow.
5 thick C's.
Wow.
He had the back fat going.
Yeah.
Oh man, he just did what he had to do. He knew he was going to be able to get that single leg and take him down over and over, and he did. Credit to him. I think he's what I would consider a better grappler than most people give him credit. They say he's just a wrestler, but really he's really transitions into submissions way better than most wrestlers do. Matter of fact, I think this might be like his 4th or 5th sub in the UFC.
Yeah, no, he's absolutely an animal.
And you know,
he said he was going to sub him in the 2nd or 3rd.
yeah. And when I talked about it, I think I might have picked a sub in the 2nd. I'm not sure. I can't remember
You did.
now.
You picked a sub.
But I kind of seen it going that way. But, you know, as far as Derek Lewis goes, it was a shot you had to take. You know, you may not ever get a shot at a heavyweight title, especially where the division is.
Or a shot at free Popeyes.
Yeah, and he got free Popeyes. So he's Popeye's spokesman. The pay scale bumps way up if on your title fight, so he got paid more than he probably ever has. He got a new sponsor. He probably got a ton of Instagram followers out of it. I don't know if you saw the thing. He was down on the MSG floor. They were asking him questions, and somebody asked him, like, hey, what kind of diet do you want, or what kind of diet do you have for the fight? And he goes, well, if my old lady's home, I usually try and eat her. But I said it the nice way. But again, he had his one-liners, that one being one of the funniest ones I've ever heard. It's a no-lose for either one of them. You know, DC kind of saved the card a little bit. Got another win, looked good doing it. It's just Derek Lewis just wasn't ready for that type of guy.
Yeah, I don't know if Derek Lewis ever will be, though.
No, and I don't think we need to see him against another wrestler. I mean, put him in there with those sluggers. That's what Derek Lewis does.
Yeah, he's an entertainment fighter, and guys, I mean, not everybody has to go after the belt.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
He got his shot. He got his big money. He got his big sponsors. Now, just give him some fun-ass fights.
Yes, I agree. So Chris Weidman, Jacare. Jacare finishes the fight just like Mr. Shackelford told you he would, as the dog, as Mr. Shackelford's lock dog of the week. Won me some coin. That was the only fight that I'd bet that night. Won me a little pennies. What'd you think about it? I think it went just like I. Without a little ground game sprinkled in there, it went basically like I thought it would.
Yeah, I was. Were you surprised that neither guy went for a takedown? Neither one of them.
I was surprised.
I really thought that at least
that just
one
shows how much
them,
these guys respect each other.
I think so too. Yeah. And you know, Weidman looked really good.
Yes, he did.
He looked. His jab looked really crisp, much more crisp than I'd ever seen before. And Leighton C would love this. He was doing a lot of that old school Chuck Liddell, the slapping left hook with an overhand right. I mean, that was Liddell's special. That's what he killed dudes with. And he touched Jacare up quite a bit. Although I don't think Jacare was getting hit flush as much as the announcers and what you just watching it, you kind of were led to believe. He's with that new team in Central Florida, like Orlando, and I've never heard of them. Apparently, they're for Orlando, which is actually not a hot spot for like martial arts places.
That's why you got to go to Tampa Bay, because all those
South Florida is where
all the WWE guys are in Tampa Bay.
Is it really?
Yeah, they basically say if you go to Tampa Bay, there's golf courses, strip clubs, and retired WWE superstars.
Well, he's not hanging out there yet because he's not retired yet.
Yeah, he's on his way.
But so
he's moving up Florida. That's what he's doing.
He's moving up there. You know, a lot of the dudes end up in South Florida, which is where ATT and the Black Zillions and those guys were. But he picked some little bitty place in Orlando, and what film you can get on them, they look pretty solid. Obviously, they're not teaching them jiu-jitsu or wrestling. They look like mostly a boxing gym. The dude that hits mitts with him, the guy looks just like Kevin Hart. I swear to God, every time I see him, I think of that hilarious Kevin Hart video.
Yeah, sit down on your punches.
Yeah, where he's going with Uncle Roger from Floyd's camp. But the dude's he looks good on mitts, like boxing style mitts. And Jacare was bobbing and weaving a ton, and he was moving in and out, and it looked good, but Weidman was touching him with that jab. He started having success when he was just almost like, forget it. Like, I'm just going to walk forward, take punches, and bombs away. I myself would have given him the second round, Jacare, but on the cards, 2 of the 3 judges had given both those rounds to Weidman. One was Weidman. Jacare just looked like there was no way he was going to lose that fight. That was just how he looked. Every time Weidman would hit him, Jacare would essentially just walk forward and just go for it. And he said at the end of the fight, that's basically what he said. He's like, I knew I was going to connect my right hand. I knew that he wasn't hurting me, and I knew as soon as I connected, he was done. A little bit of a weird finish. I mean, he dropped Weidman.
I liked it.
He was clearly down, and then he stepped off, and Weidman's kind of struggling to do anything down on the ground, and he eventually kind of gets to his belly and tries to grab Jacare's leg, and that's when Jacare looks at the ref and was like, what the hell, and he kind of like
he tapped the ref on the shoulder at one point and pointed at the guy.
See, I thought he kind of like threw one more like little baby hammer fist, and Weidman was still just basically just sitting there. Yeah. I mean, it was kind of an ugly stoppage.
I think in that instance that like the fighter should be able to just start hammer fisting the ref. Like,
just hit the ref instead.
I mean, you get to a point that like Jacare was losing the fight. Jacare probably knew that the fight was very, very close in the cards. And, like, a dude's not going to stand there and look at the ref dead in the eyes and play a staring competition with him if he thinks the guy has a chance of coming back. Like, the fighter knows his opponent better than what the ref does. I can promise you that.
Yeah, it's weird. And kudos to Jacare. I would rather see a guy like Mark Hunt, like you drop him, you know he's done. And when he's sitting there fumbling to get up, you just walk off. I'd rather see that than like the Hendo when he knocked out Bisping and then do a Kamehameha, arm stomp on him and he didn't wake up for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, I hate it whenever dudes like overkill the finish, and like whenever they're getting dragged off, like they're still trying to punch him. No, huge ups to Jacare. What's next, Jacare?
Probably the winner. Probably the winner of the Weidman or of the Gastelum and who's our champ? I can't.
Whitaker.
That's what I'm going to say. Probably the winner of Whitaker and Gastelum.
Okay.
I would say he has lost to both those guys, but as you remember, he had a really, really horrible weight cut with Gastelum last time. Super close fight.
Yeah.
And then when he lost to Whitaker was the one he actually...
Jacare's never had the strap, has he?
No.
I didn't think so.
He was the
Strikeforce
Strikeforce champ when he came in, I believe. Or maybe Rockhold had beat him for the Strikeforce championship. But I think in the UFC, he's lost... think of the guys he's fought. He lost to Romero in that insanely close fight. He's fought Gastelum. He's fought Whitaker. He's fought Weidman. He's fought Brunson twice.
Dude, he's fought the top
Weidman
of the food chain.
twice, I think. Mayhem Miller when he was at his best twice. He's really probably...
Isn't that crazy, dude? Mayhem Miller. That's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Well, he just got arrested again. That's the last I've heard of him.
Again?
Yeah.
I knew that he got arrested like a couple years ago.
He gets arrested about once a year, I think, for something crazy.
What did he do this time?
I didn't even read it. I think it was like...
you forgot about Vitor.
Electronic stalking or something.
Vitor, Gegard Mousasi.
Oh, yeah.
Ed Herman.
Look at that. I mean, there's not...
Robbie Lawler, Tim Kennedy, Matt Lindland.
He legitimately has fought every great middleweight there's ever been, I think.
No, I agree. All the way from Strikeforce up. Dude, they used to be loaded in Strikeforce.
Oh, yeah.
At the middleweight.
Yeah, Strikeforce had a killer middleweight division. They had a killer lot of divisions, really.
That's crazy, man. Tim Bosch. Wow. That is unbelievable. Yes. Jacare, he has to win one, right? He has to win a title?
I would love to see him. I would love to see him win. Not that I want to see Whitaker lose, but I just feel like MMA won't be complete without Jacare at some point holding that belt.
No, I agree, man. I feel like he absolutely has to have it. I mean, he's fought the best. You could consider him as, one of the top 5 of all time at his weight class. So I don't know. I think he has to have it at some point. David Branch gets knocked out by Jared Cannonier. I thought something
You
was
called
fishy.
that.
I thought something was fishy. I thought something was fishy.
That was...
Those odds were way too big for him, dude.
I told you I thought it was going to be a tough fight. And I said, hey, Cannonier's been up at heavyweight. He hits like a Sherman tank, but he can't wrestle worth a shit. And guess what? Branch took him down 5 times in the first round. Then he goes out there in the second round, takes him down again. Cannonier gets up and billy clubs him. And Branch wasn't knocked dead. He actually kind of just floundered and turtled up. And Cannonier hit him, but not enough to knock him out. And then Branch started to try to get up and then turtled up again. I'm not saying the dude gave up, but I'm saying that you said he tapped the strikes in one of his last fights, and that's essentially what he did this time.
Yeah. You
can't pick him again.
You can't pick a guy that taps the punches.
I'll never do it again. I
mean, but dude, you look at what Cannonier, like his out of his last 5 fights, he's lost 3. Dominic Reyes, stud.
Yeah.
Jean Blackawish, stud.
Yeah. And those guys were at 205. So this was his first fight at 85.
And then Glover Teixeira. Stud. All those guys at 205.
And really, he touched Glover up on the feet. Glover had to wrestle him. Glover wrestled him the whole time. Really good win for him. I mean, I think Branch was ranked like number 5 or something.
Yeah.
So
he was up there after his last
You got a guy
win.
that's lost a couple to some really tough 205 pounders, drops down, and knocks out the number 5 ranked guy at 185.
Yeah. I really like watching him fight. I really do.
Yeah. What's his nickname? It's something hilarious too.
I'll pop that up real quick.
It's something gorilla, I think.
The Killer Gorilla.
Killer Gorilla, yeah. Love the nickname. The dude's an animal. I do wish he would learn to wrestle a little bit, but you know what? If you can stand up 6 times after getting taken down 5 and then drop a bomb like that, it don't really matter.
Yeah. No, not sprawl and brawl. Just stand up and brawl. Carl Roberson. I think this was our only decision on the main card.
Yeah.
Ended up picking up the decision 3 rounds over Jack Marshman. You were correct again. I think you actually went 4-1.
4-1. The only
4-1
one
on the main card
was freaking Canyoneer, and I was a hair close to picking Canyoneer.
Yeah. And you even said you thought it was going to be a tough fight for Branch.
Yeah.
I think we both knew that those odds were a little fishy. But what'd you see in this fight?
This one, just a workman like that Carl dude. He's tough. He looked good standing. He can switch stances pretty well, but he also did a lot wrestling on this one. He took him down a lot, controlled him. He'll be a guy to watch it that way. He'll be a guy to watch.
All right. Is it safe for me to say the biggest winner of the night, right here, Israel Adesanya?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, dude. I thought Derek Brunson was going to... every single fight Adesany's had, I've been like, this guy's a formidable opponent that can give him a run for his money, and he's just mopping through to the division.
The only guy that really even hung with him was that Vettori guy, and he didn't hang with him. He was just a punching bag for 3 rounds.
Yeah, that guy's legitimately tough, though.
Yeah.
He is tough. Adesanya, 3 knockdowns, landed 60% of his strikes. How do you knock a guy down 3 times?
It's like he sees stuff in slow motion. It's like when he is...
It's almost like he's the style bender.
Yeah, he's the last style bender. That's why they call him that. The sky's the limit, man. His takedown defense, Brunson never even got close to taking him down. Never got close to hitting him. The only thing he did was piss Stylebender off when he damn near ripped his shorts off twice. Just starched him. Dana White, kind of cryptic, weirdly said in the post-fight presser that they already have someone picked out to fight him next. They know who he's fighting next. They're just going to give him a little time off, and then they'll be ready. I'm going to call it. I think it's going to be Darren Till. I think it's going to be Darren Till at 185, and that's going to be a fun fight.
Dude, that's going
to be fun.
That might be... That's already potential to be fight of the year.
Yeah,
I really
think
do.
So too.
That's going to be a great fight.
2 high-level kickboxers, and they're both, one's from England, and Adesanya's, I think he's Nigerian-born, but lives in New Zealand. It's got that international feel to it, so they could throw him on an international card, and it'll be, they could sell out a freaking soccer stadium with either one of those guys.
Yeah, I am very excited. I hope that that's the fight. I do hope that that's the fight. I think he was the biggest winner.
By far.
By far of the night. So we'll go ahead and break down the card that we have before us. Guys, it is UFC Fight Night. We'll just hit the top ones here. If you guys want the full fight picks from Shackelford, the man who went 4-1 on the last main card, check out the cash-in couch. We'll be dropping it this weekend. We'll just hit the top 2. Donald Cerrone, my man, Cowboy. I think if you are a fight fan, you love Cowboy. He is that old school, I am going to be so bummed whenever he finally steps away from the octagon, because he is that, I'll fight you tomorrow, I'll fight you today, I will fight you at any time, and he will be fighting Mike Perry. He actually opens as a plus 200. It was plus 200, minus 200. Mike Perry is the favorite in this fight. Who do you think's going to win, and how?
I'm going to pick Cowboy by submission.
I don't even think... I'm picking Cowboy, too, and I don't even think this is like a Homer Cowboy pick. Like, usually whenever it's a Homer Cowboy pick, I feel it in my gut.
So, Mike Perry, he started training with Winklejohn and those guys last camp. And in his last fight with Paul Felder, he did look the best we've seen him. However, his last fight was with Paul Felder, who was a 55-pounder that took the fight on really late notice and still made it an insanely close fight.
Split decision.
With a broken arm. He broke his arm in the first round. and it was still a split decision. I think Cowboy is smart enough to stay on his feet, use them leg kicks, use the teep kick to evade those big rights and get a takedown and a submission, because Perry is not a very good wrestler and he is not a very good grappler. We know Cowboy's very good at both, and Cowboy's record right now isn't looking that good, but some of those losses, Leon Edwards, super close fight. Leon Edwards is like Cowboy's kryptonite. Huge guy, southpaw.
And you picked Cowboy to lose.
I did. He picked Yancey, beat up Yancey. Till was a bad one. That's another kryptonite fight. Had a crazy close fight with Robbie Lawler. And then right here is the only weird one for me. He fought Rick Story. He fought Patrick Cote. Rick Story had a really tough fight with Matt Brown, and then on just a couple weeks' notice fought Masvidal and this was his last fight in Denver. He got knocked out or TKO'd against Masvidal in Denver. In my opinion, he was chinny. He had a really tough fight with Matt Brown. They both got dropped in that. He ended up winning. He shouldn't have taken that Masvidal fight. So when you look at his record...
The Masvidal fight was only a month after the Matt Brown fight.
Exactly. And when you look at his record, people are like, oh, he's slipping. He's 1-4 out of his last 5. But there's some caveats there. Like the Lawler one could have went either way. He never should have taken that Masvidal fight. The Leon Edwards fight was very, very close. I don't think his skills have diminished. I think he took a bunch of shitty-ass fights.
Yeah.
I just see him staying out of trouble,
but his
weathering the
never
storm,
turn down
takedown, submission. The only thing that makes me worry about him in this fight is the bad blood that's kind of between him, because Winklejohn and those guys kind of kicked him out of the camp. Kind of made a split there. Cowboy said, hey, can you not coach him for this fight? They told him to his face, no, we won't coach him, and then called him on the phone later and said, sorry, he pays membership fees, you don't, so we're going to coach him. Now, from what I understand, Greg Jackson and Brandon Gibson are still going to be in Cowboys' corner, but Winklejohn and the other coaches, Frank Lester, are going to be in Perry's corner. But what worries me about that is Cowboy doesn't fight good when he's mad at people. Sounds stupid. You remember when Nate Diaz knocked his cowboy hat off his head?
Yeah.
Cowboy went into that fight and he said he just went in there trying to kill him, and Nate Diaz, I think, landed like 280 punches.
Yeah.
And Cowboy said he learned his lesson from that.
I think he did.
So,
I mean, he's a smart fighter.
If he can keep his emotions down and just stay out of a slugfest, just there's I don't see how he loses.
But like the build up to this fight, like he's been buddy with Perry. Like they've been cool with each other.
I think
I don't think that he's mad at Perry.
And he said that he's like, this really doesn't have anything to do with Perry. He's like, I helped build that gym. They built me from the ground up. I've been there 15 years. This guy was there for like 2 months. And Winklejohn decided to pick him, which just sounded like there was a little bad blood before. He said he didn't like the way Winklejohn held pads or his style. He was already kind of ragging on Winklejohn anyway, so it's more of a Winklejohn versus Cowboy thing than a Perry, type thing.
Which I think plays into, Cowboy's mentality going into this fight. It's not like he's going out there to try to just dismantle this guy. He's going out there trying to pick up a win.
Exactly. Because
he knows a win is what will kind of put the bad blood with Winklejohn to bed. And I'm all in on Cowboy this fight. I think this is a perfect fight for Cowboy. I don't think that Perry is the kind of guy that can beat Cowboy. I don't think he has the style to beat Cowboy because there's a specific style.
He's got a big right hand. And he is explosive. But when you look at guys that beat Cowboy, it's always the guys that really starch him, they're southpaws, they are explosive, and they usually have that really good body kick that stopped him several times.
Yeah, and I feel like whenever Cowboy takes a fight against a guy that, whenever it's a well-timed fight. So, his last fight was June. In a well-timed fight that Cowboy is the smarter fighter in, Cowboy usually is able to pick up the win in those fights, and I am all aboard Cowboy. Cowboy's probably going to be the only guy that I bet this weekend. So we'll go ahead and check out the main event. we have the Korean Zombie taking on Yair Rodriguez. Who do you think's gonna win this one?
I'm going to go Yair. The reason being is I'm not sold on this whole thing that he's a mental case. We haven't seen him since Frankie Edgar beat him. Now, Frankie beat him, but he didn't beat him to death. He swole his eye up really, really quick, and the fight got stopped. Now, the general consensus is that he has had some mental problem, and he just hasn't been right, and he's switching camps, and he's trying to get out of all these fights. I don't know why we read into stuff so much. The guy had a loss, took some time off, got injured, couldn't come back, had a dispute with Dana White and those guys. Look how many wins he had before.
8-1 in his last 9.
Yeah, why would we think this guy is just totally shit the bed when he lost to probably like the number 2 guy in the world at that weight? His variety of attack between striking with hands and striking with feet and his good takedown defense. The Korean Zombie, Chan Sung Jung, he's mostly just a boxer, but he throws bombs. He's not even really a boxer. He wings bombs. So I see Yair, who's going to be the much taller fighter, staying on the outside, using those kung fu kicks to really touch the zombie up. I think we're looking at a 5-round war here.
Yeah,
the zombies. That's why his nickname is a Korean Zombie, because he never gets stopped. He just comes straight forward, and no matter whether he's winning or losing, he's making it a fun fight.
Yeah, no, I mean, you look at the fight against Poirier, like, he makes it a fun fight no matter what's going to happen. I think the Korean Zombie, I think he'll win, but as far as like a betting pick, because you guys, these are big odds. Like Yair Rodriguez, they're big odds. I think that the Korean Zombie will win just because he'll be able to weather all the storms that he throws at him. But like, whenever you watch the Yair Rodriguez fight, BJ Penn, like, I remember that it was such a bummer because BJ Penn does not look. He didn't look like the old BJ Penn, but like, you saw all the skills that Rodriguez has. Like, he just completely picked him apart. And, he's not going to be able to do that to the Korean Zombie. I think the Korean Zombie will win, but I think that you have a case for Yair Rodriguez, especially whenever you look at the betting odds, and there is a route to victory for him. I don't buy into the head case part. I don't buy into that.
I just don't know why we look into it so much. You know what I mean? The dude, he had one loss and took some time off. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean anything.
No, it does not.
That doesn't mean anything.
No, it does not. Guys, so we didn't get a chance to throw in Latency's 10 Seconds to Sweat. I want Latency to kind of talk about the Cowboy fight against Mike Perry for just a second. Latency, who's going to win this fight?
Okay, like I said, I have no prep at home to do. I have seen Cowboy fight. I've never seen Mike Perry. Picture him until 5 minutes ago. I Googled him. I talked about Cody Garbrandt. I think I was in 97 degrees and 8 degrees.
Yeah.
They look very similar.
He does kind of look brain.
They do look very similar, and so I don't like Cody Garbrandt for that, but Cody Garbrandt can fight.
Yeah.
I don't like Cody Garbrandt, but look at a guy with Cerrone. That guy doesn't give a shit.
No.
I'm convinced he didn't care about anything else but kicking that guy's ass across from him in the ring. Meanwhile, Mike Perry worried about how his hair looks, how his singing voice sounds when he goes on stage later. Cowboy cares about 2 things: whiskey and kicking ass. So Cowboy's going to kick this guy's ass.
I think Cowboy would salute you for that one.
I think so too.
I definitely like that pick. So we had some real weird things happen this week. The UFC started dropping 125-pounders. Basically, our boy Shorty Torres broke a video today saying that he is no longer a part of the UFC, which is odd because just about a month ago you came on here and said that you thought that the 125 division was going to get thinned out drastically and that you thought that they were going to just basically get rid of it. It looks like that's what's happening right before our eyes. You were first on the case with, Mighty Mouse going to be getting put out of the UFC one way or another, and now there's just more guys dropping. What do you think about that? And what do you think about the future for the UFC?
I don't think it's So you got to look at it this way. DJ Mighty Mouse was the biggest. Let me put it this way first. DJ, as a champion, he won 11 straight title fights. As a champion, he was the lowest drawing champion of all the champions. I think second was Woodley, actually, which is kind of crazy. But he was the lowest drawing champion of all the champions in the UFC. Now, with that said, he's also the biggest star of the 125-pound division. So, because, yeah, he's the lowest drawing guy, he's still the biggest star in that 25-pound division. And it just never panned out. For some reason, I loved DJ. You know, when he fought Bogatinov, man, I forgot the guy. He trained at the Kill a Bee with, he's a Japanese guy. That fight was really fun. He's had a bunch of really fun fights. But the truth of the matter is, those 25-pounders, it just never caught on. It just never caught on. There was one, you kind of talked about it. You still, when you think of anybody under 145 pounds, you always think John Dodson. Well, then when you look at it, he's like 1-4 in his last 5 fights. So the star power never really caught traction. Even there's a lot of tough guys in there. DJ just cleaned it out for so long, and I feel like people maybe turned away. It's a bummer, and it's a bummer for guys like Shorty who fought all that time outside of the UFC to get their chance in the UFC. He had 2 exciting fights, and now they're dropping him. I don't know what the reasoning for keeping some and not keeping others is. What I think is happening, what I think is going to happen, is they're dropping maybe half of them, and the guys that can fit into the 130, because 135 needs bodies. I mean, you look at it, who's TJ Dillashaw going to fight next? It was Henry Cejudo, who's the 25-pound champ. So what they're thinking, I believe, is to bump Cejudo up, champion versus champion, to see who's going to be the new 35-pound champ. And the guys that are biggish or got a little bit of a name behind them, they're all going to go up to 35, and then they're going to cut a lot of them. What I think is going to happen, they're going to open up a 165-pound division. I think, because remember Dana said, hey, we got enough belts. Now they're taking out 25. I think they'll put in 65 and move 70 to 75. So they'll have those 10-pound increments, 35, 45, 55, 65, 75, 85. So that relieves some of your problems you got up there with those big guys cutting weight. But it's still a bummer for a lot of those 25.
I agree. I think it's an ultimate bummer. And you know what this reminds me of is kind of like in women's college basketball, how, you know, UConn has been just so dominant, and people say, well, it doesn't even make the sport fun whenever you know who's going to win every single time. DJ is maybe the greatest champion we've had in the UFC as far as just like a reign that we've never seen before. It's kind of like the way Alabama has become in football. It makes the sport almost boring whenever you know who's going to win on a night-to-night basis.
Yeah.
I don't take this out of context. I think DJ was the worst possible thing that could have happened to 125.
No, and it's because he was so dominant.
It was because he was so good. It's a bummer because you can't. I mean, he's the reason for the 125 weight class. He is the 125-pound weight class for the UFC.
He's the nicest dude in the world.
But he's the reason for the demise because he was that good.
He was. I mean, they just couldn't find. And again, it's not his fault.
No.
It's not other fighters, because all the other fighters were very competitive with each other. The only guy, Joseph Benavidez, who was actually supposed to fight this weekend, it just broke today. Ray Borg, that poor bastard, he's had so many problems the last 6 months. His kids had health problems. He lost his fight because whenever Conor busted that window, he had some glass in his eye. Hopefully stuff turns around for him, but Benavidez was really the only guy that had pulled away from the pack, and DJ decisioned him once and starched him a second time. So that's what it is, man. when LeBron and D Wade and Bosh were in Miami, people were tired of watching it 3 years in a row.
Golden State now.
Golden State now. Nobody wants to, the league, arguably NBA, when I say the league, has more stars right now than ever before, you could probably say. Or at least it's comparable back to the 90s. In the 90s you had, I could name 10 players all on different teams that were stars back then. That's about what it is right now. But then you got the Golden State Warriors. You just know nobody's going to win. So kind of same thing with the Patriots. It's why people root against them. Boston, if they do well again. The Red Sox, if they do well again next year, it'll be the same thing. For some reason, sports fans have this weird thing where they don't want to see the same person winning. And if DJ was head and shoulders for 4 years, he was head and shoulders above everybody else. People just got tired of it. They just didn't want to see it. It just didn't catch on.
I think that they were basically just waiting for him to lose,
I think so too.
If there had been more parity, I think that this division had a chance to stay around.
Probably so. And it's kind of a Cinderella story for DJ because he gets to go over to one. He's making supposedly going to make 8 figures. In that culture, in the Japanese Asian culture, where, it's skipping my mind right now. Cartoons. What are the cartoons called?
Anime.
Anime's huge. Video games are huge. That humble samurai spirit is huge. That's him in a nutshell.
Yes.
So it's a Cinderella story for him. But for guys like Shorty and some of these other guys, I really hope that they flood into ONE FC or some of these other organizations and they get paid well. But, just the fact of the matter is some of them just ain't going to get picked up.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me of how, the 205 division was for a while. You basically had John Jones, 100 feet of dead space. Then you had DC, and then 1,000 yards of dead space.
From those guys
and then but the only thing is you couldn't really phase that division out because you had a weight class above and a weight class below. Yeah. You just had the greatest champion at a weight class, but it got phased out because they could. Yeah. They could draw a line to it to say, hey, enough's enough. We're tired of it, and we want more parity in our fights, so they just bump them all up. I think it's a bad move. I don't like it.
I don't like it.
I don't like it at all.
If they could get 105 pounds, you know what I mean? There's fighters out there that are atom weights, that are monsters. That would be so fun to watch. But the writing's on the wall. They're just not gonna do anything less than 135 anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
For now, you guys may not remember. At one time, they cut the 55-pound division. Jens Pulver was the champ, I believe, at the time. You had Jens Pulver, Cal Ono, BJ Penn, Eve Edwards, Josh Thompson. You had all these killers at 155, and which at the time the UFC wasn't doing very well is why they had to cut them. So all they had was 70, 85. I think it was 200 pounds at the time, and then heavyweight. This isn't the first time we've seen a weight class cut, but to me, this one isn't so much, hey, the business is doing bad. This is, we just don't want you guys here.
That's terrible, honestly. I think it's terrible.
It is.
So, some exciting news. Ben Askren, he has been penciled in to fight Robbie Lawler. Ben Askren came out and said that they set him up with Robbie Lawler because they want to see him lose. What do you think about this?
I think I said that last week.
Yeah, you did. You said that. You hit that on the head.
My top 3 guys were going to be Masvidal, Lawler, or Till, and he ended up getting Lawler.
The one who's probably the best wrestler out of all 3.
That's a tough fight. That's a tough fight for Ben. Lawler's been wrestling since he wrestled as a kid, I believe, in Iowa. He trained with Militich forever, trains with ATT now. Dude can wrestle. So we'll just have to see if he can deal with the wet blanket that Askren is. However, Robbie, he did get bumped from the UFC at one point because he had some consecutive losses. And when he was in Strikeforce, he had some wins and losses mixed. Guys like Tim Kennedy took him down, held him down. Once he gets down on the ground, he had some trouble getting up. He seemed, once he got back into the UFC this time, he remedied that a little bit. But if you go back to his Strikeforce days and those UFC losses before he went there, he had trouble with the takedown.
Yeah. Just gut check, do you think Ben Askren can overcome that? And I honestly think that this is one of those situations where they're throwing him against a legitimate fighter. Robbie Lawler is, as legitimate as they come.
It'll be the hardest fight he's ever had.
Yes. I look at this as like, if he wins this fight, he's going to get the next title shot. But if he loses this fight, then he could potentially
he's not going to fight. He won't
bottom
fight
feeders.
Woodley, though. He won't fight Woodley.
He's
Woodley's coach. Not only are they like good friends, wrestled in college, trained together, he's actually Woodley's coach.
But if there's nothing else for the title shot,
165-pound division.
But do you think that?
I think Woodley goes. I think they're going to move 70 up to 75, where Woodley will be the champ, and I think he will be the 65.
All right, just a little Mystic Shackelford. All right, we'll see if it happens. I am very, very excited for that fight.
I don't know who's going to win that fight. So just sitting here off the top of my head, you asking me, honest to God, it's not stylistically, it's not good for Askren.
I think Askren might lose.
Sense, it's not good for Lawler either.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I don't know if that makes sense totally, but I can picture in my head both guys getting starched in their respective categories.
Yeah, I think it's one of those fights that I don't know which way it'll go, but it has the potential to not be a close fight either way.
I think that's the best way to put it. It's going to be a drubbing on one side or the other. Either Askren shoots a John Smith low single, gets him down, and lays on him for 25 minutes or 15, or Robbie just crushes him.
Right. I'm excited for that one. Okay, so the weirdest news of the week. All accounts pointed to the fact that Floyd Mayweather was going to have a fight. I'm unsure of the guy's name. Let me try to give it a quick Google here, and I'll try to pronounce it the best that I can. He was going to fight a guy in is it Ryzen?
Yes.
Fight League. He's the champion. It is Tenshin Nasukawa. He was supposed to fight him. The guy's supposedly like a phenomenal kickboxer. It was basically announced that they were going to fight. Like they took pictures together and everything like that. And then all of a sudden, Floyd Mayweather makes a post saying that was never in the makes. Like they were never supposed to fight. They were never booked the fight. Like they had set the fight, but then they said they didn't have any rules for it. And then all of a sudden, in the most Floyd Mayweather bit of news, there was no fight to ever have been had. Take us through that. What do you think happened?
Yeah, Tenshin Nasukawa. To kind of give you a little background on him, he's only like 20, 21.
Yeah, he's young.
They're calling him like a phenom, a Japanese kickboxing phenom. I had seen one fight of his before, and it was a knockout. It was like a spinning hook kick to a dude's face, and just brutalized the guy, KO'd him. As soon as Latency broke this news to me, he sent me a text, and he's like, "What the hell? I need as much information about this as possible for the show." I immediately pulled up, and I was like, "Who is this guy? What?" And so Ryzen, for you guys that don't know, there are other MMA companies out there. Ryzen is a Japanese promotion, the biggest one in Japan right now. I believe it is from the guys that created or ran Pride from back in the day. It's kind of out of the ashes of that. Now, you got to ask why they're even having to rise out of the ashes of Pride. In Japan, if you have ties to the Yakuza at all, it's immediately bad. It's very bad. Pride was doing very, very, very well for a long time, and then some political stuff happened, and it came out that they had their backing, their funding was largely from Yakuza, which is essentially the mob in Japan. As soon as that happened, Japanese people stopped supporting it, just instantly stopped supporting it. It goes under. These years later, Ryzen comes up. So for Ryzen to be popular now, it makes me think that the Yakuza and those guys maybe aren't backing it anymore. But then a deal like this, Mayweather basically, this came out of nowhere. And like you said, they're showing pictures of him and this kickboxer. As soon as he sent me that, in my head, I thought, this is one of two things.
Your exact text was, this is fishy.
Yeah. Pride was known for having some exhibition matches that were 100% fake. And we knew they were fake, but they were kind of just playing. They were doing some stuff. They also had some fights we didn't know were fake or didn't know were rigged that came out later. Quentin Rampage Jackson said that when he first fought Kazushi Sakuraba, they came to his dressing room and just said, hey, if you let Sakuraba choke you unconscious, if you don't tap whenever he submits you, we'll pay you an extra $5,000 or something. Guess what happened? Sakuraba got behind him, put Rampage asleep.
Wow.
So was it 100% rigged? Because Rampage said he fought, but how much would you fight knowing that, hey, this guy's probably going to submit me anyways, but if I just let him put me asleep, they're going to give me an extra $5,000 in the back before I leave this building.
Right.
Once that stuff started coming out, it just got really weird. So my first thought was either A, this was a 100% exhibition match, like, hey, we're having some fun here, almost pro wrestling stuff, or it was going to be rigged behind the scenes, and I was going to beg everybody not to bet on anything because you couldn't trust it. Now, the other thing I thought was there's no way Floyd Mayweather, you know why he's so rich and you know why he's 50-0 and the best boxer ever? Because he's smart. He absolutely positively was not even going to do an exhibition match with this little bitty guy who can kick him. There was no way they were ever going to do anything but box. And in his post he came out today, he said that basically he flew over there. These people offered him a ton of money. He thought it was going to be an exhibition just in a ring with basically a couple rich people watching. And it was an exhibition. And then when he gets there on their soil with the people, they have this huge press conference and they're taking pictures and this and that. This reminds me of another story I have from growing up where we all have these stories. Leighton C may have a more recent one where you're in a scenario that you can't get out of. And when you're stuck in that scenario, you just got to do it. Whether it's a family gathering, whether it's hanging out with a chick. My scenario, this chick asked me to go hang out with her, went and hung out with her, ended up at her ex-boyfriend's house hanging out all night in a weird place that I didn't have a ride home. But when I was there, I was like, yeah, this is fun. Like, yeah, guys, I'm one of you. As soon as I got home, I never talked to her another day in my life. It was the creepiest night of my life. That's what happened to Floyd. He flies to Japan, think he's going to get a ton of money to, exhibition, quote unquote, with some Joe Blow from this little Japanese federation he's never heard of for all these rich guys. Then he gets there, they're like, oh, hey, the guy we're going to have you fight's this 20-year-old phenom that's blasting dudes' heads off. Southpaw, who's another thing that Floyd hates to fight. We're going to do some pictures, we're going to do this and that. And then and he even said in his tweet or whatever it was today, I'm back home, I'm on U.S. soil, so I have to tell what happened. He got honeypotted. It's kind of hilarious because when they did the Conor McGregor, they're like, hey, we're just going to do this little presser. It'll be this way. And then McGregor and Dana White, when they got there, they got set up. They're like in front of this huge crowd. He's like digging on Conor, and he kind of had to make it up from there. So it's a little bit of payback. And this is, like I said, an example that we've all been in. You're in a situation you don't want to be in. You just got to smile and pretend until you can get the hell out of there.
Smile and nod.
This is just on a global scale.
Just a good old Floyd Mayweather bob and weave.
Yeah, he's standing there like smiling like, there ain't no way I'm fighting you ever. Please fly me home before the Yakuza chop me up.
Yeah, no, they actually had they even put out odds for that fight. Floyd Mayweather was the favorite. They didn't even know what you can bet on anything.
There was no rules, right?
Yes, there was no rules.
So they put out odds before they even knew how they were going to fight.
Yeah, they put out odds before they even knew the rules of the fight.
I had already plan to beg everyone not to bet on this because it was fishy as hell. And I probably an hour before I headed over here, I read that post again. The producer, man on a mission, sent me the link, and I read it. It ain't happening. I don't know. It's a wacky story.
Very, very wacky. Anything else before we wrap this show up?
Nope. Keep listening. Check out the Cash In Couch. From what I understand, Drake's really good at picking college football. So if you're tired of losing on fights, or if you ain't listening to me and you're losing, move over to college football.
All right. And on that note, Dippers, for Drake, for Leighton, and Mr. Shackelford, as always, Dippers, stay saucy.